Hello and welcome to Skeindeer Knits. My name is Ellie and I am a Norwegian living and knitting in London. And you can follow me on Instagram as Skeindeer and on Ravelry as the designer Skeindeer Knits. But for the best place of getting in touch, taking part in knit-alongs and discussing my designs, you can join the Ravelry group Skeindeer Knits, which is the best place, like I said, to get in touch and get your questions answered. I have dedicated threads to each of my patterns and collections, so even if I don't have a ongoing knit along for those patterns, there is still a thread where you can raise any questions or just kind of have a off the record kind of knit along with other people that are making the same item. So it's still a social place for that, even though I'm not running a knit along. But before I get into more things that may have struck you, I'm just going to cover the very basics of admin. I am running 3 knit-alongs currently. There is a knit-along for the Vinterfjell sweater that's hung up on my chair here. It's going to end at the end of the month. It's been running for over 3 months now, and I think that's enough time to start wrapping things up. But rest assured, there will come a child-sized sweater pattern soon. I am mainly just waiting for my test knitters to finish their jumpers, but seeing as it's summer in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm not rushing them. So I gave them about a month's time, and I think they are, by the looks of their Instagram hashtags, I think that's hashtag Vesle Vinterfjell, they're doing really well, so we can expect that soon. And I'm running a knit along for my sock pattern, so that is this Skeindeer sock along, which is also going to end at the end of the month. I think I maybe have given the impression that there will be like a month's time for each pattern, the way my mitten club was, but this is not a sock club, it's just a collection. You don't have to make all of them, you get an entry per pair of socks. So even if you get 4 entries rather than maybe 6 if you were expecting that, I think that's still pretty good. And the socks are so fast to make, you could catch up. But yeah, I will be closing that knit along at the end of the month as well. And lastly, there's a year-long knit along where we make 6 pairs of colourwork mittens for the duration of 2018. That is the admin for today. I now have to talk about my backdrop. So first of all, welcome to new viewers. I'm so glad you stopped by, and welcome back to returning viewers. You may have noticed that the background has changed. I don't know if I'm going to stick to this. I just thought I'd try it since this is the first time I'm recording with my new shelf. So a bit of backstory. I moved in here 2 years ago, and there's a huge wardrobe taking up a third of my room. And the woman doing the viewing actually said that it could be taken out, but the landladies had never intended for that to be removed. It's been in this room for longer than I have lived. It's old and sturdy, but it finally toppled over, not due to the sheer amount of yarn that I have, which I can actually show you now. Oh dear. But that is not why the wardrobe gave in. It was just old. The door fell off the hinges when my landlady's husband tried to fix it. He just made it worse, and it was like, I guess it's time to throw this thing out. And I was like, so Saturday morning, he and 2 male relatives of his came by to take down the whole thing and put up this shelf and that wardrobe. And I just went up to the Knit in Public day, and when I came home I had this. A little bit disappointed to find that this section overlaps with the hallway to my room, so the wall kind of stops here, and I thought this would fit. I don't know, I just can't measure things. I put a photo up on Instagram that may illustrate things a bit better. That's a bit embarrassing. Also, I'm going to talk about knitting soon, not to worry. It was so funny when they were here to take the shelves down, and well, the wardrobe down, and they were outside to discuss how to put things back in again. The cat came in, and she just had this look on her face like, what have you guys done to my home? What have you done to my mansion? She'll adjust. It's just funny because it's not our cat. It's the neighbor next door. But the cat's always kind of just walked in here with the demeanor of like, you know what? I've lived here for longer than any of you guys. This is my home. I don't see any other cat claiming this place. So you guys better take care of it. And every time she comes in, she will only like investigate things like under the staircase, under my bed. She will also try to break an entry into each and every of my cupboards and closets. Always try to, she also manages to open the magnet wardrobe around the corner here that I keep crap in. And yeah, she's something. But yeah, she'll adjust, hopefully. I just thought that was a bit funny. So now I have this backdrop. I'm getting more of these boxes from IKEA within the week. IKEA have terribly late delivery. I'm not very happy about that. Taking a week just to get it from Tottenham, really. So I will organize my yarn up here, in here soon. For the time being, I'm just having lots of like empty shelves where I put little bits and bobs here and there. It's not going to be like this, and I don't know if I'm going to keep this as my backdrop, because it means that there will be more direct sunlight coming from that side, which used to come from that side when it was in the opposite end of the room. We care, we all care so much. Ellie, just talk about knitting now. But yeah, I just like trying it out. And I put all my stitch dictionaries here. So this is where I put my resource books rather than just pattern books. It's a little bit hard to draw the line sometimes, because sometimes books are half and half. But generally I find I use these more as reference books rather than just sources of designs. So it's been nice to have them in a separate section where I can actually pull them out when I need those. I'm not actually knitting someone else's pattern rather than making my own. So knitting. I'm not going to talk that much about knitting today, actually. I am mainly going to focus on Q&A, because in my previous episode and the one before that, I requested questions. So I hope there are questions in my questions thread right now. But if not, I may take a little break from recording and put one on Instagram. Right, so I just posted on Instagram that people can ask me questions. So now hopefully we will get even more questions so I don't run out of things to say. Oh, I have a lot of things to do this week. I have to mark a bunch of exams again, this time in developmental psychology, which is not really my field. I am more into social psychology and cognitive psychology. My area of research is decision-making psychology, and I tend to mark for social psychology, but now I've somehow been given a task to go into this completely other area, so that's something I need to focus on very soon. In the meantime, let's talk about some knitting. I have knitted some more on my Hodgson's Joy. This is a Sarah Hatton design that I am doing for the Fibre Company. So the Fibre Company have developed this new yarn called Lore, which they are launching in September along with this collection of patterns. And I am making the Hodgson's Joy cardigan, which was my first choice of design, and I think it was a very popular one which I got to make, and I'm very happy about that. Though I'm doing some small little changes that I've been allowed to do. So I've done the rib, as you've seen. I've started the stitch pattern, and I have now worked up more of the stitch pattern, and this is kind of what it's looking like. I am not super keen on the stitch pattern. I don't enjoy doing it, and I'm not sure I would have chosen to have it there. However, I have started the sleeve, and the sleeve only has the stitch pattern that is for the majority of the cardigan. So once I'm done with this little section of the stitch pattern I'm not super keen on, I get to do this all the time. Look at that. It's so nice and subtle and simple to do. It's just a broken rib, I think. You know, you alternate rib and stockinette kind of. I'm not going to give away the pattern. For most of the part, and then it's this kind of tuck slip stitch pattern here, and it looks gorgeous. I thought this was going to be some kind of advanced lace cable design, but this is just, these are just strands. It's not a texture. Well, it is a texture, but not in the way that it looks from a distance. And I'm loving it. I'm enjoying doing it, and I like how it looks. So very soon, after, I don't know, maybe one more kind of repeat of this, I get to do this all the time. So very excited about that, and I'm sure this is just going to be like a nice accent for kind of the hips, sort of. And I have joined in the round. It is supposed to be knitted flat, but I realized the purling, not because I'm slow at purling, but because I enjoy it less than knitting. I often like kind of post myself as a hater of purling. I'm not really, it's a relative thing. I enjoy the knit stitch so much that the purl stitch seems like such a slog, and therefore I decided to join the round with a bit of a steek here. So I knitted up this much flat before realizing it's just not for me. I will be doing this in pure knit stitch stockinette, and now I just pulled out my needle. and it will be quicker, and I can actually see the stitch pattern as I'm doing it, which means it doesn't get offset by a stitch, which tended to happen when I was working from the wrong side before. So I'm really enjoying that, but I don't think anyone else is going to have a problem doing this the way it's written in the pattern. I'm just being fuzzy because, like I said, the purl stitch relative to the knit stitch for me is a bit of a slog. It's not actually that I purl so impractically that it's terrible. I think continental purl often gets a bad rap. The people who throw often assume that it must be the worst thing ever because all continental knitters do is whine about continental purl. And I don't really agree. I just think it's because continental knit is so efficient that the purl stitch can be a bit, why do I have to do this when I can knit, kind of. Because I mean, I could show you how I purl. Well, let's do that. I don't usually do let's see how I knit a stitch kind of tutorial because, I mean, quite frankly, they're really ungrateful. If you look at the comment section of any tutorial, you can see why some might choose not to do them. So I will just say right now, as I've said before, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make videos where I demonstrate knitting, but I'm going to demonstrate a little bit now just because I keep having to redo this, guys, because I keep falling out of the frame, which is another reason I don't do these videos, because really I keep falling out of the frame and I lose focus, and it's just terrible. Tutorials I'm terrible to make. So I'm going to do my best now to purl at the speed that I usually do. So as you can see, I just don't think it's that bad continental, personally. It's just that when I shift to knitting, oh my god, are we more efficient? You know? So, you probably didn't see any of that. Now you know why I don't make those kinds of videos. And there we have it. It's just this stitch. I wonder now if I'm doing these floats that I'm leaving at the front a little bit looser than I did when I was working from the wrong side. So it could lead to some gauge effects, but we hope not. I don't think it will. What I've measured so far seems fairly consistent, even though the look is a bit more 3D, which I guess isn't a bad thing. Maybe I was doing it too tight before. Anyway, just thinking out loud now, but yeah, I am enjoying this cardigan, and I am trying to be a bit monogamous with it just because that is really the only knit I have with a very, very, very set deadline. Guys, it's getting warm again. I'm gonna have to do my usual mid-podcast striptease. I am wearing my Lino cardigan. It is one of my favorite knits. A little bit small for me now than it was when I made it, but still it's lovely. It's a design by Pinnagoody. I wear it mostly in the summers, but as you can see, it's sort of bulging here because someone has gotten bigger lady bits since she made this in her rather early 20s. So it is really lovely. I want to make another one this year. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to do it, but it's really one of those designs I could definitely do another one of. That's a lot better, isn't it? Gosh, this podcast episode, guys, it's very casual. I hadn't planned to podcast this week because of all the other obligations that I have. So now in my new shelf, I've got my fringe bag, my very fancy fringe bag, which I've gotten 2 new pins. There's Perth Festival of Yarn, which I am going to, and I hope to see you guys there. Very excited about Perth Festival of Yarn. Back here, next to some other lovely buttons, such as the California button that I finally found. I thought I dropped this. Can we focus, please, and thank you. I thought I dropped this on the tube, but I dropped it in my bag. I thought it was gone. And the other new button is Susan Crawford. I got this when Susan Crawford was in town, and I have since put it on my bag. I was nearly ready to throw the bag away, as though I wasn't going to show you the content of the bag. Oh god, someone should have had breakfast before doing this thing. I've technically had breakfast. I've had cheese. Cheese is food. So, as I showed you last time, I started the Oracle shawl. A shawl I had no business starting given all the deadlines I have and all the things I need to get ready. But look at it though, guys. Look at it. I finished this section of brioche, and now the only section left with brioche is actually kind of a short one. There will be a lot of stitches, so I'm still optimistic. But the main reason I'm doing this shawl is because I've gotten completely hooked on one pass brioche. And if you're curious about that, Nathan Taylor, aka Sockmatician, has a video on their technique. Please do not ask me to make a video tutorial. You've seen how that goes now. He's made one already. It's his method. I would not take credit for that or do any version of that myself when he already has that brilliant video out there. So do check that out. there is that. I have done all this brioche with that method. It is actually quite straightforward. I do recommend starting with the purl stitch though, the burp. Aside from that, I mean, off you go, because the reason why I say that is because the I-cord is in a different color, so it just makes more sense. You will see it when you make it, hopefully. So I am now on to the second lace section. It's going to have a lot of stitches and take a long time. There's a great UFO potential now just because of all the other obligations I have, and I'm not particularly keen on purling all the wrong sides. Me and purling again. I think if knitting was just purling, I would still have enjoyed it. It's just the memory of that I enjoy knitting more. It's what ruins it for me. It's funny. But for those of you who didn't see last week's episode, you may have noticed that there's something a bit different with this one. I'm not doing the full circle oracle shawl. I'm not doing the half circle oracle shawl. I'm doing a 3/4, which does not exist, but I managed to modify the half moon oracle shawl to become a 3/4. So that's kind of how that works. I figured it would kind of be easier to wear that way. I have made both half pies, half circle, and 3/4 pies, 3/4 circles before, and they worked out fine. I love both of them, but the 3/4 one is definitely the more wearable of the bunch, so I think that will do. I also feel like this is rather small, but every photo I've seen of the oracle shawl suggests it's huge, so I don't know if I'm off gauge or if just it's gonna grow. This is a single ply merino. It's of Woolen Vine herself, who is also the designer, so I suspect it will grow because single ply merino always grows more than I anticipate. We've seen this before. My fade shawl became huge, my Vegetable Unite became huge. It's an ongoing theme. My snow melt as well, I had to frog the first version because it got huge. So that's what we have for now. I don't think I have more to add. I'm going to do the lace section in this lovely burgundy. Actually know the colorways if you're curious. This is Grim, this is Plume. Don't remember this one. I probably said it in the last week's episode, so I wouldn't worry too much. But yeah, it lives in here, and I feel like this entire setup, this bag, the yarn, the pattern, it's so Kristen. It's like the whole thing is just a complete rip-off. Anyway, I am enjoying it. Would definitely recommend the pattern. It's a joy. All the bits I've done so far have been surprisingly fast, so even if the last 1 or 2, 3, 4 sections are slower, so far so good. It's been a very enjoyable and quick one, and there's enough variation to keep you going. So I really like it. Before getting into Q&A, I have a lot of acquisitions. What have I been doing? So I think actually last week I forgot to mention that I had ordered and received a Susan Crawford book. I believe I got this in the mail before I went to Greece. I just forgot to mention it. Because I am a new convert to everything Susan Crawford, I had to get one of her previous books as well. I would quite like to get the first Stitch in Time book also. I just kind of have to find it. I've seen it in Loop, so hopefully that will do. Look at that. Look at that. So good. And she's awesome, by the way. So I'm very glad to have this book. There's a lot of stuff in here that I could see myself making with some of my kind of vintage sweater quantities. They're not actually vintage, but I can see myself using Isager Highland Wool or Isager Highland Wool Silk Blend and my Huldra yarn by Hillesvåg. I think all of those would be great for vintage blouses. I don't know, this one for instance, I don't know if it will work for me, but I really want it. And it's quite a big lace project, but you know, why not? Same goes for this one. I think it's really cool, and I actually suspect this is the pattern where in my size I could actually do it in DK weight yarn, which, yeah. But that is really all I have to say about that book so far. I have not had time to properly go through it. I just know that there's a lot of patterns in there I could see myself making. And as for other publications and books I have acquired, I have of course gotten the latest issue of Laine / Laine magazine. I'm debating what to pronounce it like now. Most people on the podcastosphere seem to say Laine, but I am aware that the Finnish pronunciation is something like Laine. I'm assuming Finnish vowels are pronounced the same as the other Scandinavian languages, so that would be Laine, which is apparently a Finnish word. I think it meant cloud, but I'm not sure. I shouldn't be saying that if I don't know. But yeah, it's sort of like, you know, I mean something in Finnish, but it's also the French word for wool. So there's quite a bit here I enjoy. I love the coverage of Edinburgh. I like that there's an interview with Isolde Teague, and my friend Claire actually has a lovely sweater design in here again, and I want to make both of her sweater designs. She also had, this is Notkin, but she also had the hay sweater in the magazine before the previous one, and I want to make them both. And I have some yarn that I know would work, I just don't have time and enough hands. But yeah, this is the 5th issue of Laine magazine. They seem to have stuck with this design and layout now. The first 2 issues had a different layout, but then I think they changed publisher and sort of stuck to this one, where it's sort of different kind of neutral shades on the cover every time, but the logo and the photo is generally kind of, you know, consistently placed. Photograph on the cover, never too informative, doesn't give too much away, but I have to say I'm more impressed with the photography this time around. Now, Laine magazine always has impeccable photography, but from a knitter's point of view I often want informative photography as well, and I feel like they've upped the game with that in this one, so I'm very glad to see that. And also feel like maybe commenting on some of the stuff I've said about Laine magazine before, because I feel like some of the things were misinterpreted, probably due to me not being clear enough. That's all on me. I was discussing like to what extent it's representing Nordic design, and I was sort of getting a bit tangled up in Norwegian knitting tradition, but that is not what they try to do, and they never try to sell themselves as doing that. I'm not generally thinking in terms of the knitting design they pass on. It's just the general feel of the magazine that I feel actually represent a more international and to some extent Americanized culture, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think Laine magazine is brilliant and good and classy and stylish, and I could just eat the whole thing because it's really just such a thorough and good magazine, and I've gotten a bit of a sort of insider info on kind of how patterns are prepped, and I'm very informed by how thorough they are, so I have only good things to say about Laine. My only kind of claim is that when people buy it in America and see it as a Nordic product, I mean, do pay attention to like how, you know, American needle sizes and imperial rather than metric measures are emphasized. If this were a primarily Nordic magazine, you would mainly just get metric and metric needle sizes and metric measures. It's clearly targeting an American audience. There's nothing wrong with that, but I think it's something just to be aware of when you are kind of perceiving something as being maybe say Nordic or something else. Often it's actually more your culture taking on some attributes of a different one. Anyway, I'm getting tangled up in this again, aren't I? I think it's a good magazine and I think it's worth buying. That's kind of what I want to say. But moving on to another book purchase, and you can see my book purchase has gone up again now that there is more room for books. That's a dangerous route to take now. I really need to stop, because most of this shelf is just going to be used for yarn. It's not actually, it doesn't mean that I have room for more books. So, but I knew I had to get this one as soon as I heard about it, and it's Ziggurats by Tricosa, and this is a designer I've looked up to for a long time, yet have never made any of her designs. She has very basic wearable sweater and cardigan designs. She does other things as well, but that is her speciality because she developed the Ziggurat fit. And from what I've gathered, it's kind of her take on the contiguous method that I've often talked about, but it's kind of what she does instead, kind of her take on it, which basically means you will not have many ends to weave in, you will not have to make things in pieces, there's not many stitches to pick up, and you can primarily knit things in the round. She has just all the concerns that I have when it comes to knitting and just speaks my language. I think it's brilliant. So you can see just how well fitted they are, how much thought she puts into that, and I look forward to making some of these designs in due time. I've also got some of her patterns on Ravelry, which I may do first, or I may actually do one of the... See, this one I believe is an Aran weight, and I have bought some Aran weight yarn this week. I did this bargain, and I'm going to show you in a bit, but I think that will be perfect for this one, and it would be a good sort of first try at her construction method. And a nice, really snuggly, oversized cardigan, which we all know that I'm really into nowadays. So, but the way things are going now, I mean, if I'm just going to focus on my current whips, which are like, you know, between 20 and 30 at the moment, I'm not going to be able to cast on anything this year. Well, that's boring. So this week was Knit in Public Day. I said this week, that was technically last week, on Saturday. Today's Monday. It was Knit in Public Day. It's a worldwide event that happens worldwide. And my 3 most local yarn shops had gotten together to create the East London Yarn Triangle. I think this is the 2nd or 3rd time they're doing it, but it's the first time I've been able to take part. So they're doing it between fabrications in Broadway Market, not too far away from here, and then there's Wild and Woolly in Lower Clapton, and Knit with Attitude in Stoke Newington, just on Stoke Newington High Street. And they're all just close enough to me to walk, but it was such a muggy weather that me and my friends mainly just took the bus around, and it was really good. And we started off in Broadway Market, which is the best place to be on Saturdays, honestly. The food. And there's a yarn shop in that street, so how bad can it be, really? Having said that though, despite my love for fabrications, I did not buy anything because fabrications stocks a lot of interesting stuff, but it's not necessarily the stuff that I am into. I say stuff a lot now. They have a lot of West Yorkshire spinners, which I do think is great. They do their Blueface Leicester yarn, which I think is brilliant. There's some Erica Knight yarn there. I suppose they will be discontinuing their Debbie Bliss yarn, but there's, you know, other stuff there. And they do sewing, it's a lot of fabrics. It's a really nice shop with a good ethos. I love what they are representing, you know. So after we'd been there, we'd been to the market, we'd had some food in the park in London Fields, we headed up to Wild and Woolly, and I finally bought the yarn I've been looking at for a very long time, which is Isle yarn. Isle yarns, I guess, yeah. So these are the balls I ended up with. They do both balls and hank skeins. We talked about this before. Technically these are skeins, and what we call skeins are hanks, but now we refer to these as balls and hanks as skeins. It's all very confusing, but they do both, so whatever. I bought these because I just wanted an excuse to buy this really deep bottle green color, and I thought these could go really well together because obviously it's green in both. They have 175 meters per 50 grams, so that's exactly the same as Fenul Garn by Aroma. This is 100% British wool though, and it's spun by the fiber company apparently. I didn't know that. Cool. Or the natural fiber company. Is that the same as the fiber company? I think it is. Anyway, it's from a family farm in Dorset, as it says here. Wait, this is direct from a family farm in Dorset, and this is pure wool from the Isle of Purbeck. I thought this was the same. Huh. Well, same meterage, purely compatible, and it's probably going to be mittens because that's kind of what I do. But I would definitely recommend this yarn. I think it's absolutely lovely. Just, you know, the usual 2-ply rustic yarn, non-superwash. I can give you a close-up to get an idea of what sort of fiber we're talking about here. I really admire people that do this in audio podcasts where they just find the words to describe it. You know, people like Louise of Knit British, who just has this vocabulary for describing wool. I am completely relying on images. I am more of a visual person than a verbal person. So this is what it looks like. Oh, it's wool. Now I struck quite the bargain at Wild and Woolly. I didn't just get those 2 skeins / balls there. I went to their stash depot. I don't know what they call it. I call it a stash dump. That's probably not the word. It's a place where you could just leave yarn that you don't want to keep anymore. And Wild and Woolly will sell each unit by £2. So you can get a skein with, be it 25 grams or 100 grams. It will cost £2. Each unit of yarn, £2. And I found all of this, and it's amazing. So first I just picked up some of these unlabeled ones. It just has this label which doesn't tell you anything, and I was like, well, it feels nice and it looks nice. I'm gonna buy it. And then I kept digging and digging, and a friend of mine helped me digging and found one with the label. So this is Silkroad by Joe Sharp, and this is the Aran tweed yarn. And I looked at the fiber content, I'm like, 85% wool, 10% silk, 5% cashmere. 95 meters per 50 grams. It's pretty good meterage for an Aran weight in my opinion. Oh my god. So I got a sweater quantity. I'm holding up both colors. So I got 3 of this. But I do worry it's not good enough contrast to do color work. It's borderline, but generally I feel like this is a bit too close personally. I've just developed an eye for these things. I know lots of people like to turn photos black and white to see if the colors are distinguishable then, but I think it depends on the effect you want. You know, if I'd done that to my flea cardigan for instance, you wouldn't be able to set apart most of the colors. But that's kind of the look I want. It blends together and it's nice. Whereas for other things you do want a high contrast. But if you're in doubt, you don't need the black and white filter to do a photo of your yarn and edit and stuff. You just look at it and you go, is there doubt? If yes, higher contrast. And I have this discussion with people who I collaborate with a lot. If I am, say, knitting with their yarn, they're sponsoring me with yarn, supporting me, dyeing yarn for me even, lots of cases like that where I'm always like, needs higher contrast. And they come with some other combinations of like, what about this? Still higher contrast. How about this? Alright, still need higher contrast. And I sound like I'm like the mad woman of high contrast, but there have also been cases where I haven't said anything because I don't want to like cause a stir and seem unhappy with the yarns I've got, and then it turns out it needed higher contrast and I'm just, oh, speak up Ellie, use your words. So yeah, generally if in doubt, higher contrast, and I am in doubt, so might use the green yarns for something else, might use it for a giveaway, or I might see if it works. You know, there's always swatching. We don't like the word, but that is a thing that exists. So I got a big chunk. There's one skein I put back in there as well, but there's a lot. And I am thinking a sweater, be it the cardigan in the Ziggurats book or something else, I'm not sure, but this is just up my alley. It's again 2-ply tweed, non-superwash, quite rustic but definitely soft. You would not have any complaints about the softness here. In fact, it reminds me of my merino tweed jumper by the yarn is from Pickles, and also seems similar to the Debbie Bliss merino tweed yarn with a bit of cashmere, just that this is Aran weight, so probably, you know, kind of held double-ish. I suspect they might be all made on the same place. It's made in Italy, and so is that yarn, so I suspect this could be the same thing, which explains why I like it so much. And ooh, I don't have time to cast on, and it's a terrible thing because I love casting on things, but that is how I got myself into all this trouble in the first place. Oh dear. Off you go in there. Now there's one more skein I have yet to talk about, because the last stop on the East London yarn triangle was knit with Attitude, and I have spoken about Garnsurr before, but I have never actually bought a skein, and it was due time, so I got one. They have a lot of crazy colors, but I got one that is a bit more subtle because, you know, someone, Curious Handmade, is doing a sock society with lots of gentle colors, and I'm probably gonna need the skein for that at some point. It could do really well with the latest sock design that she's done with woolen vine yarn, but I also do happen to have a woolen vine skein in the sock base that I could use, so I don't know. But this is on the Sökke merino base, which is a 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. It's got 425 meters per 100 grams, which is, I think, it's a base I've seen around quite a bit from Indie Diaries lately, and I have to say I like it. It seems a lot sturdier than the other merino sock yarns I've seen earlier that I wasn't that happy with, which is the main reason I've primarily stuck to Blueface Leicester for hand-dyed sock yarn. But I really do believe in this. It's got a high twist, it's still nice, you know. 25% nylon is a pretty good number, and yeah, it doesn't seem to be that pilly, so I'm hopeful, and I think it's pretty. So there's a close-up. Isn't it funny how I started this podcast by like being the antidote to all this hand-dyed stuff? I think the thing I've taken into account since that perspective is that it is art, you know. It's, we say hand painted a lot. I think that's a specific technique, but it is like it's been painted on canvas by a person, I wouldn't have bought something like any hand-dyed yarns really if it came from a factory. It is something to do with it being hand-dyed that really is the appeal for me, I think, because it's like art. That is all I have for acquisitions, and means I will now be doing my first ever Q&A. That is questions and answers, if you don't know the lingo. A little bit nervous. It's going to be a very nice and efficient way for me to go through my questions and answers thread, because I have, you know, promised that I am going to keep on top of it, and I'm doing it right now. So